The deeper explorers go underground, the more ancient artifacts they find. Deep in coal seams, scientists have discovered finds that could change our understanding of the past. Their age is so incredible that it's hard to believe. In this video, I'll show you the most mysterious ancient artifacts, tell you about a man outside of time, reveal the secret of the smells of mummies, and explain where the remains of Jesus' brother were found. Get ready for discoveries that will change history. Hi friend, you're on the KirTop channel. A man out of time. Michel Sifra became a pioneer in the study of time and the work of the human mind. His experiments amazed scientists so much that even NASA used his results. In 1962, 23-year-old Sifra spent 2 months in complete isolation in a cave, refusing watches and sunlight. He wanted to find out how the body perceives time without external reference points. It turned out that a person outside the usual 24-hour cycle switches to a 48-hour rhythm and time is felt differently. 5 minutes seem like 2. 10 years later, he repeated the experiment, spending 6 months in a Texas cave. His discoveries became the basis of chronobiology and helped in the preparation of astronauts for long missions. A girl was infected with a medieval curse. Do you think it is possible to literally be transported back to the Middle Ages in the modern world? And now we are not talking about a reenactors festival, but about a truly creepy phenomenon. In the Middle Ages, people suffered from a mysterious disease, St. Anthony's fire, also known as witches' cramps. The symptoms were horrific: convulsions, bloody vomiting, psychosis, and in severe cases, gangrene of the limbs. The infected were often considered to be possessed by demons. In fact, the cause was banal: poisoning with ergot, a parasitic fungus that affects rye. Bread from contaminated grain caused mass epidemics throughout Europe and even in Russia. The last major case was recorded in 1951 in France, when 250 people fell ill and 4 died. It seemed that the disease was a thing of the past, but recently an American girl felt a strong burning sensation in her legs. Doctors were perplexed. The tissues of her limbs began to die. Only after long studies, it was discovered that she had been poisoned by ergot, catching a real greeting from the Middle Ages. Modern technologies have almost eliminated such cases, but as we see, history can repeat itself. Remains of Jesus' brother. A 2,000-year-old ossuary with the inscription, "James, son of Joseph, brother of Jesus," has been discovered in Israel. This has sparked a heated debate. Perhaps the box contained the remains of James the Just, the first bishop of Jerusalem and brother of Jesus. Today, the artifact is on display in Atlanta among 350 ancient relics from the time of Christ. However, its authenticity remains in question. The owner of the ossuary, collector Oded Golan, was accused of forging the inscription, claiming that he added the phrase, "brother of Jesus." But after a multi-year trial, the charges were dropped, although the judge clarified that this does not prove the authenticity of the artifact. If the inscription is real, the ossuary will be the oldest material evidence of the existence of Jesus. In the 1st century, Jews kept the bones of the deceased in limestone boxes, so the discovery of such an ossuary is not surprising. In 2017, another artifact related to him was found, the ancient text, the First Apocalypse of James. It says that Jesus passed on secret knowledge to his brother, including a prediction of his death. This text was banned because it did not correspond to the canonical New Testament. Ancient necropolis of the Persian kings. Here is one of the most impressive bas-reliefs of ancient Persia, a depiction of the victory of Shahanshah Shapur I over the Roman Emperor Valerian. This monument is located in Nakhche-Rustam, the ancient necropolis of the Persian kings in Iran. In the bas-relief, Shapur I is sitting on a horse in luxurious armor, and Philip the Arab, the Roman emperor who made peace with the Persians, is kneeling before him. But most importantly, he is holding the hand of the captured Valerian. This was the only case in history when a Roman emperor was captured. After his defeat at the Battle of Edessa in 260, Valerian was never able to return. According to different versions, he died in captivity or was killed. This bas-relief is not just a historical monument, but a symbol of the greatness of the Persian Empire. He reminded everyone who passed by that the Romans, the main power of the time, had suffered a humiliating defeat. The scariest tribe. Traveler and blogger Daniel Pino caused quite a shock when he posted a video of the Wai tribe from Papua New Guinea. In the video, which has collected more than 17 million views, he shows an encounter with silent tribesmen guarding a sacred waterfall. The Wai people wear costumes made of mud and clay, and their masks resemble spiritual birds with long noses and menacing expressions. They protect the waterfall from strangers, and they are quite scary. However, viewers have doubted the authenticity of the video. Some commenters claim that the scariest tribe would not let a blogger so close. Others joke that their costumes look like fashionable outfits. Despite the controversy, the video has attracted tourists to the region. Travel agencies now list Wai as a tourist destination, offering guests eco-lodges and an introduction to the tribe's culture. What do you think? Is this tribe real, or is it really another way to attract naive tourists? Write your opinion in the comments under the video. Memorial marks on the bricks of history. The Mehrangarh Fort in Jodhpur is one of the most majestic structures in India, but its beauty hides dark pages of history. On the inner gate of Lohapole, 15 imprints of women's hands are still visible, silent witnesses to the tragic tradition of Sati. Sati is an ancient Hindu ritual according to which widows were supposed to burn on the funeral pyre of their husbands. Sometimes women did this voluntarily, but more often they were forced. This practice was officially banned by the British in 1829, but in India it continued until the 20th century. In 1843, after the death of Maharaja Man Singh, his wives left handprints on the wall before stepping into the fire. However, this is not the only case in the history of the fort. In 1731, 6 wives and 58 concubines of Maharaja Ajit Singh also committed suicide in the flames. Tragedies have been going on since the fort's foundation. In the 15th century, Saint Chidyawale Baba cursed Rao Yoda, saying his land would suffer from perpetual drought. To lift the curse, the king ordered a resident of Megwal, Rajaram, to be walled up alive within the fort's walls. But the curse still seems to be in effect. Maharajas have died here, tourists have fallen, and in 2008, hundreds were killed or injured during a stampede at the Chamunda Devi temple. Knights versus snails. Medieval manuscripts are not only sources of knowledge, but also a real treasure trove of mysterious and funny illustrations. Among them, marginalia deserves special attention. Strange drawings on the margins of manuscripts. And one of the most curious plots that can be found in English and French books of the 13th, the 14th, the centuries is a battle between a knight and a snail. Why did the monks who copied the books need to depict such an absurd scene? One explanation is simple boredom. The monks amused themselves by decorating the pages with grotesque drawings, and gradually this became a kind of art. But such illustrations could also have hidden meanings. Perhaps the snail symbolized cowardice. Like a knight in armor, it hides in its shell. Some historians believe that this is a satire on the slowness of the aristocracy, or even a mockery of certain political groups. Be that as it may, these strange scenes still cause debate among researchers, and the battle between the knight and the snail remains one of the most mysterious medieval miniatures. Beaded dress. Here is one of the rarest ancient Egyptian garments, a beaded dress dating back to around 2550 BC during the 4th dynasty. This was the time of the construction of the Great Pyramids, and such outfits were worn by noble women, perhaps even priestesses. The dress is made in the form of a mesh structure of hundreds of small faience beads, creating the effect of scales or fish skin. It was worn over a thin linen tunic, which made the image not only elegant but also symbolically significant. The Egyptians believed that such clothing could grant protection and favor from the gods. It is amazing that the dress has survived in this form for thousands of years. This is not just an item of clothing, but an artifact that gives us an idea of the fashion, traditions, and aesthetics of the ancient Egyptian elite. Today it is kept in a museum and is one of the most outstanding examples of ancient textile art. Rare giant book. Here is one of 12 giant books from the 18th century written in Spanish. Its size is impressive, almost a meter in length. These books were created for religious ceremonies and contain detailed scripts for the services. Leather binding, wooden covers, pages made of tanned animal skin. All this made the book not only durable but also a symbol of the greatness of the church. Such manuscripts were intended for use in churches where priests and choirs could read the text from afar. That is why the letters are so large. Today, this rarity is kept in the National Autonomous University of Mexico. Scientists and restorers carefully study it, trying to preserve it in its original form. These books are a real window into the past, allowing you to see what liturgical texts looked like and what the attitude to writing was in the era of colonial Latin America. Birth certificate. Here is one of the oldest birth certificates created over 4,000 years ago in the Sumerian civilization. It consists of 2 clay tablets, one covered in cuneiform writing and the other with a footprint of a child. In ancient Mesopotamia, such tablets were used as official documents confirming the birth of a person. The cuneiform text probably contains the child's name, the names of the parents, the date of birth, and perhaps even astrological predictions. And the footprint served as a kind of personal signature, a unique way to identify the baby. This artifact shows how developed the bureaucratic systems were in Sumer. Even then, people understood the importance of documentation, and such records could be used to confirm inheritance or social rights. This is a real window into the ancient world, which seems so distant, but in some ways is very similar to ours. The real truth about the woolly mammoth. Mammoths are always associated with the Ice Age, endless tundra steppes, and primitive hunters fighting for survival. But behind the legendary image lies the reality that the woolly mammoth was not the largest or even the first to conquer America. The growth of the woolly mammoth reached 3.5 meters, but the African elephant is taller, up to 4 meters. And among its relatives, it was inferior in size. Columbian, imperial, and steppe mammoths reached 5 meters and weighed up to 13 tons. However, the woolly mammoth surpassed them in the width and density of wool, which made its survival in glacial conditions more successful. In addition, it was not a pioneer in America. Before it, southern mammoths and their descendants, Columbian mammoths, already lived there. The woolly mammoth could not displace them and remained only in the northern territories. But despite all this, it was the most numerous and influential species. Its population numbered in the tens of thousands, and its habitat stretched from the Arctic Ocean to Mexico. Even after they died out, mammoths left a huge mark on history. Hundreds of thousands of tons of their remains are still preserved in permafrost, and their tusks were used in trade even more than African ivory. Hippo tooth artifact. Archaeologists have discovered in Spain an ancient artifact made from a hippopotamus tooth. This find, dating back to the second quarter of the 3rd millennium BC, confirms the existence of trade links between the Pyrenees, Africa, and the Middle East 4,500 years ago. The rare object was found among artifacts from the settlement of Bobila Madorel in Barcelona, which belonged to the Veraza culture. The length of the find is about 10 centimeters. One end is pointed, the other is broken off. Scientists assume that this is a tool, possibly related to textile production. Analysis showed that the artifact was made not from a fossilized, but from a fresh hippopotamus tooth. Traces of red pigment mixed with organic matter, possibly animal fat or egg white, were preserved on its surface. Jade cicada. Here is a jade cicada created during the Western Zhou dynasty. This artifact is not just a decoration, it had a deep symbolic meaning. In Chinese culture, the cicada was considered a symbol of rebirth and immortality, and jade was a stone of eternity. Such a figurine could be placed in the mouth of the deceased before burial, believing that it would help the soul pass into the afterlife and be reborn. Traces of red paint found on the artifact are also important. Red symbolized protection and good luck. The finest carving demonstrates the high level of skill of ancient Chinese artisans. Note the eyes, folded paws, and patterns that give the figurine an almost mystical look. Such objects were part of rituals and reflected the religious beliefs of people of that era. A lavish, pointless event. Balingham is a small village in England, but it was here that one of the most lavish meetings in history took place 500 years ago. England's King Henry VIII and the French monarch Francis I held a grand celebration that went down in history as the Field of the Cloth of Gold. Officially, the meeting was supposed to strengthen the alliance of the two kings against Emperor Charles V, but in reality it became a competition in luxury. Henry built a giant tent palace of 10,000 square meters, the walls of which were brick at the base and painted to look like stone above. The roof resembled tiles, and at the entrance there were fountains from which red wine flowed. The celebration lasted 18 days, accompanied by feasts, tournaments, and masquerades. The kings were visited by 3,500 retinues, for whom 98,000 eggs, 2,200 sheep, and even exotic dishes like guinea pig and dolphin were prepared. But even amidst the luxury, rivalry prevailed. Henry challenged Francis to a fight and lost. Soon he entered into an alliance with Charles V, and a year later England was at war with France. The Field of the Cloth of Gold became a symbol of incredible extravagance that ruined the treasuries of both countries. Gold jewelry. Here are exquisite gold ear jewelry pieces created in the 1st century BC during the Satavahana dynasty in Andhra Pradesh, India. These pieces are an example of the outstanding craftsmanship of ancient goldsmiths who worked with gold using complex granulation and embossing techniques. The jewelry pieces are massive, curved, and richly decorated. They feature images of animals such as horses and lions, which symbolize strength, power, and protection in Indian culture. The detail is astounding. Every bead, every line is executed with incredible precision. Earrings like these were worn by noble women and perhaps even royalty. Today, these artifacts are a priceless legacy of ancient Indian jewelry art. Metal rod. How can this mysterious artifact be explained? Inside a stone found in the Meizong Mountains of China, collector Jilin Wang discovered a metal rod with a thread resembling a screw. But the strangest thing is that the hard rock formed around it, which suggests that the find could be millions of years old. Some have suggested that this is a meteorite with an alien artifact inside. Others believe that it is an ancient man-made object that, for unknown reasons, ended up in the ground and turned into a fossil. Skeptics believe that this is simply a rare natural formation and the screw is just a fossilized marine organism. But the most interesting thing is that similar finds have already been found in different parts of the world. Coincidence or evidence of an ancient, unknown technology? For now, this artifact remains one of the most mysterious archaeological riddles. A curious discovery in Egypt. Two divers in Egypt have discovered unique artifacts from the Greco-Roman period, raising hundreds of ancient relics from the seabed. However, instead of handing over the finds to the authorities, they tried to keep them for themselves. The artifacts were found in Abu Shir Bay off the coast of Alexandria, in a place where the sunken cities of Heraklion and Canopus once stood. As a result of the police operation, 448 items were confiscated from the divers. 305 coins, 53 figurines, 41 axes, 14 bronze bowls, 12 spears, and even 3 heads from ancient statues. The coins are decorated with images of animals: lions, elephants, turtles, dolphins, as well as Pegasus, the legendary winged horse. Many of the bronze artifacts have become covered with a turquoise patina due to centuries spent underwater. According to the examination, the finds date back to the period from 500 BC to 400 AD, covering the reign of the Ptolemaic dynasty and the subsequent dominance of Rome. The divers are suspected of attempting to steal and possibly hide some of the artifacts. Are these finds really 300 million years old? From time to time, miners find strange artifacts in coal seams that appear to have been created by intelligent beings. This poses some awkward questions for science, since the age of these rocks is estimated at 300 million years. How could objects that were clearly made by hand get there? After all, at that time, the Earth was inhabited only by giant insects and the first reptiles, and there was no talk of people, dinosaurs, or even advanced technologies. However, the finds continue to amaze us. In 1912, an iron pot was extracted from a coal seam in Oklahoma, and in 1851, a zinc and silver vase was discovered in Massachusetts, the rock of which is 534 million years old. A metal rod similar to a rack made of aluminum with an admixture of magnesium was found in Russia. Its origin is even more mysterious. Aluminum was discovered only in 1825, and the age of the coal in which it was found exceeds 300 million years. Scientists have found that the metal is saturated with carbon, which confirms its incredible age. But if so, who made it? Some believe that these finds are traces of a vanished civilization that existed long before us, but was wiped off the face of the planet by a global cataclysm. Others suggest that the objects could have been left by aliens or even time travelers. Skeptics, in turn, are sure that this is a hoax or dating error. There is also a theory that coal was formed not millions but only a few thousand years ago under the influence of deep gases and pressure. If so, then the artifacts may not be so ancient at all. The mystery of the Herculaneum Scroll. Thanks to artificial intelligence and advanced X-ray technology, scientists have managed to decipher the text of one of the ancient Herculaneum scrolls for the first time. These unique artifacts, which survived the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD, remained a mystery for almost 2,000 years. The scrolls were discovered in the 1750s among the ruins of a Roman villa. However, after the disaster, they turned into charred, fragile rolls that cannot be unrolled without breaking. Most of them are stored in the National Library of Naples, and a few copies are in Oxford. In 2023, the Vesuvius Challenge was launched to find technologies to decipher these texts. Recently, researchers announced a major breakthrough. Using high-energy X-ray scanning and AI algorithms, they managed to create the first image of the inside of the Oxford Scroll. Scientists have already identified several words, one of which is the Greek for disgust. Although the text is still fragmentary, the method continues to improve. There are more than 1,000 such scrolls in Naples, and now researchers have hope of deciphering them. An artifact with a secret inscription. British teenager Lucas Cunliffe made an archaeological discovery while walking with his father in northern England. Using a metal detector, he found the pommel of a medieval sword that is over 700 years old. Experts say this late 13th century artifact is a real rarity. The bronze hilt is engraved with an inscription in Latin, Jesus, King of the Jews. Historical weapons expert Paul MacDonald noted that there are only 7 such finds, and all of them were made in Scotland. Historians suggest that this sword was used during the War of Scottish Independence. It may even be associated with the reign of Robert the Bruce, the legendary King of Scotland. Skin and scales on an ancient skeleton. Paleontologists have studied the remarkably well-preserved skeleton of a plesiosaur found in Germany back in 1940. The fossil lay in a museum garden for decades until scientists discovered in 2020 that it had preserved soft tissue, skin, and even cell nuclei. This discovery helps to better understand the appearance of ancient marine reptiles that lived 183 million years ago. The body of the plesiosaur was sealed in the Posidonia shale, due to which the skin survived along the spine and on the flipper. It turned out to be thicker than previously thought and resembled the skin of sea turtles. Microscopic analysis showed that the tissue structure corresponds to modern reptiles. The most amazing find was the scales on the flipper. They are similar to the scales of snakes and lizards and could have helped the plesiosaur either when moving along the bottom or when maneuvering in the water. Scientists compare the appearance of this reptile to a hybrid of a leatherback and a green turtle. The appearance of long-necked plesiosaurs is still debated, but this discovery provides the first real data on what they looked like. Like alive. In the famous Batagai crater, which is called the Gates of Hell, the amazingly well-preserved remains of a woolly mammoth calf have been discovered. The female, named Yana, lived more than 50,000 years ago and probably died from a fatal back injury during the Ice Age. At the time of her death, the baby mammoth was about a year old. Its height at the withers was 1.2 m, and its weight was about 180 kilograms. Among the 7 known baby woolly mammoths, Yana stands out for her exceptional preservation. Her trunk, lips, ears, and eye sockets remained practically intact, which is a rarity. According to scientist Maxim Cheprasov, the mammoth's head was perfectly preserved, but the back of the body was damaged, possibly due to a fall. The front half of the baby mammoth was already half thawed out of the permafrost when local residents discovered it. The Batagaisky crater is considered the largest permafrost failure in the world, and its melting releases about 5,000 tons of carbon annually. A 42,170-year-old Lena horse foal was found here. A brewery from the time of Egypt's first rulers. Archaeologists have discovered the world's oldest brewery located in the necropolis of Abydos, Egypt. The discovery not only sheds light on early brewing technology, but also helps us understand how resources were managed during the construction of the pyramids. The complex consists of 8 massive installations up to 20 meters long. Each of them contains 2 rows of 40 vessels that were used to heat a mixture of grain and water, the classic process of brewing beer. Scientists date the brewery to the era of Pharaoh Narmer, who is considered the founder of the First Dynasty. Dr. Adams, who led the study, called the discovery industrial-scale production and noted that it shows a high level of labor organization in ancient Egypt. The ability to manage the mass distribution of resources and organize labor allowed the Egyptians to build grandiose structures, including the pyramids. In addition, beer played an important role in rituals. The large-scale production at Abydos indicates its use in sacrifices, ceremonies, and rituals, confirming its importance in the development of Egyptian royal power. Gold torque. In the UK, an amateur with a metal detector discovered a 3,000-year-old gold torque. The ancient piece, found in a field by the River Stour in Essex, is the first such artifact to be recorded in the region. Torques are massive gold necklaces that symbolize the high status of their owner. The piece dates back to the Middle Bronze Age. Analysis has shown that the piece is 75% gold, 18% silver, and contains a small amount of copper. The 14.7 centimeters piece is made from a rectangular gold rod into which the craftsman cut 4 deep grooves and then twisted the metal, giving it a special shape. According to ancient Finn specialist Laurie Rogerson, the artifact looks as if it was made yesterday. Working with such a soft metal required a high level of skill, as twisting too hard could tear the gold. Turned out not to be a man. In Jerusalem, archaeologists made an unexpected discovery while studying the burial place of an ascetic monk. It turned out that the remains belonged to a woman, which is not typical for monastic practices of that time. The grave was found in Khirbat el-Masan, where a Byzantine monastery was located in the 7th centuries AD. Around the skeleton lay heavy iron shackles about 10 centimeters in diameter, which led scientists to initially assume that the deceased was a man. However, an analysis of the tooth enamel confirmed that it was a woman. This fact turns the idea of asceticism in the Byzantine Empire upside down. Although there are written sources about female ascetics, such as Melania the Elder and Melania the Roman, archaeological evidence of such practices is extremely rare. Iron shackles indicate extreme forms of self-restraint in the search for spiritual perfection. Until now, it was believed that such practices were exclusively male. The monastery was located on the pilgrimage route to Jerusalem, making it an important center not only for prayer but also a refuge for travelers. The discovery of this burial suggests that women played a more significant role in monastic communities than previously thought. A once-in-a-lifetime experience. 2 years ago, David Dunn from the British town of Sapcoda, Leicestershire, took up metal detecting to spend more time outdoors. One day, his intuition told him to return to a pasture where he had already been. After several hours of searching, the device gave a weak signal. In the ground, David found 2 Roman coins, and then, having dug 60 centimeters deeper, he extracted as many as 50 ancient silver coins. The oldest of them date back to the reign of Carausius, who ruled Britain during the late Roman Empire. The rest were minted under Electus, Diocletian, and Maximian, meaning the hoard is at least 1,700 years old. Such finds happen once in a lifetime. The coins will go to auction and are expected to bring David about $1,800. However, he says that money is not the main thing for him. The smell of Egyptian mummies. Scientists have studied the smells of ancient Egyptian mummies for the first time, revealing unexpected details about the embalming process. The analysis showed that the mummies exude woody, spicy, and sweet aromas associated with the use of natural preservatives. The researchers studied 9 mummies, ranging in age from the New Kingdom to the Byzantine period. Using gas chromatography and mass spectrometry, they determined the composition of the embalming substances: pine, cedar, and juniper resins, myrrh, frankincense, spices, herbs, vegetable oils, animal fat, and wax. According to experts, the discovery will help preserve ancient artifacts and also open up new opportunities for museums. Now visitors will be able to not only see, but also smell ancient Egypt, immersing themselves in the atmosphere of that era. Smells played an important role in the rituals of the Egyptians. A pleasant aroma symbolized divinity and purity, while a foul odor was associated with decay and impurity. Even after 5,000 years, mummies retained incense, emphasizing the importance of this aspect in ancient culture. Leap Castle. Leap Castle, located 3 kilometers from the city of Roscrea, Ireland, is considered the most sinister place in the country. Built around 1250, it became home to the bloodthirsty O'Carroll clan. Betrayals, murders, and tortures took place here, and numerous ghosts still roam its halls. The history of the castle began with a tragedy. Two brothers from the Obanan clan argued for power and decided to jump off a cliff to determine the winner. The survivor became the leader of the clan, and the castle was named Bannon's Leap. Later, the fortress was captured by the O'Carrolls, notorious for their cruelty. In 1532, during Mass, one of the O'Carrolls killed his brother, a priest, right at the altar. Since then, his ghost wanders through the bloody chapel, from the windows of which light sometimes comes. In 1922, workers found an underground pit in the castle with the remains of 150 people. In the Middle Ages, prisoners were thrown here and simply forgotten. Some of the ghosts of the castle are friendly. For example, Emily is a girl who died after falling from the fortress wall. Eyewitnesses say that they see her fall but disappear right before the ground. However, there is a much more sinister entity, the Elemental, an ancient spirit that was possibly summoned by the Druids. It appears rarely, but is considered the most dangerous inhabitant of the castle. Today, the castle has been partially restored, but its dark history is alive. Tours are held here, and many guests leave Leap with the feeling that someone was watching them. Would you like to visit a haunted castle? Could you spend at least one night in the castle alone? Write in the comments under the video and don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Bye everyone.